everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Between Sermons, where we are taking the Sunday message from our church and turning it from a monologue into a dialogue. So sometimes we spend so much time creating these messages, and we end up just kind of talking at people. And so I love that in this show we're able to really just talk about these ideas face to face. And so the face I get to look at today is my favorite face. It's my wife's face.
Hi.
Hi, Sol. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
It's awesome to be able to just hang out with my wife.
I haven't been in the podcast for a while now.
It has been a bit.
It has been a minute.
Since, what was it? The relationship series.
Oh, yeah.
The very first message.
Yes.
So, but before that, it had been a little while, too.
Yeah.
So we get to hang out, but we're hanging out today because you were the one preaching on Sunday, which was awesome for many reasons. It means that I didn't have to prepare a sermon, but it also means I got to sit on the front row and cheer on my wife, and so that was a cool moment. So you got to kick off, what was this, week 4?
3.
3?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how many weeks we've been doing this. I was in Senegal, and it threw off my whole timeline of existence.
I know. It was week 3 of our Like Jesus series, which I've been just loving it. I really have.
Why?
Because I feel like we as Christians sometimes just fall into this routine of just wake up and kind of like do your devotions and like just kind of see Jesus as an add-on to your life. You know, like it is like the bonus points of my day, and it's just like the nice thing to have with my cup of coffee type of thing. Yeah. But being in this series, I have been challenged that my relationship with Jesus, it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with me being like Jesus. Yeah. Like it is about me being minimized so that he can really be exalted in me, so that people can really see him when they see me. Because if all they find is Sol, then they are missing out. Yeah. And it has been very challenging, but I'm loving it.
Yeah. No, I think that, our relationship with Jesus should be transformative.
Yes.
And if it's not transformative, then there's probably something wrong in our relationship with Jesus. If we're trying to have Jesus and still just be completely us at the same time, like, obviously you're not following Scripture, you're not following Jesus close enough, because that relationship with him should be transformative. So I'm excited about this series, but it's cool to hear kind of your take, your perspective.
Yeah. It is a different way of seeing Christianity. It's a different way of seeing Jesus. Like he wanted us to leave everything behind and follow him. Yeah. That was even like what he was telling his disciples as he was gathering them, like just live your life and come follow me. And we see in the Bible how they will just put their nets down, then they will just literally live their life behind to follow Jesus. And somewhere along the way, we have this idea of we just add Jesus to whatever we want to do, instead of realizing that the call of being a disciple means that you leave everything and you follow Jesus. Yeah,
it's funny. I actually taught that verse in Senegal.
Oh, really?
And the message was about that verse is really the entirety of Christianity. In one verse. I love it. Jesus says, come follow me and I'll make you become fishers of men. That is Christianity. Follow Jesus, let him transform you. He's gonna make you into something you weren't before. So follow Jesus, be transformed by him, and then tell others about him. Yeah. Like that's Christianity in one verse. Right there at the beginning of Jesus' ministry. I love it. It's beautiful.
See that? I didn't know that.
Look, same
great minds.
Wavelength. Love it. But no, I really wanted to kind of start off the show just by making you feel really uncomfortable, because I just have to praise you that so often as preachers, I like to say, a lot of times when I'm up there, I'm preaching to myself. There just happens to be an audience that gets to listen to me talk to myself, because it's like, this is something that I need to be doing better at, or this is an area where I'm feeling conviction. And so, sometimes, as preachers, we don't have the luxury of getting it perfect before we help others follow suit. But sitting there, listening to you teach, looking through your notes beforehand, it was like, man, this is not Sol preaching to herself. This is not an aspirational, sometimes preachers will have imposter syndrome where it's like I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be the one telling people how to do this. Like anytime I teach on finances, I'm like I'm not a money guy. Like bring Carlton back in here. Like yeah, I know how to budget and I make smart decisions with my money, but man, like people start having these financial conversations and it's just I'm like a little monkey just banging my gong. Like I have no idea what they're talking about. But there's so many subject matters and topics where it's Sunday. I'm the preacher. I've got to teach on it. And so I'll spend all week studying or all month studying. And, we joke about how if you're going to teach on marriage, then your marriage is going to have issues that week. If you teach on money, you're going to have money problems that week. And that's just kind of the process. But getting back to you, what I loved on Sunday is listening to you teach. It was not that at all. There was no imposter syndrome because when you talk about serving like Jesus, because that's the subject that we're addressing, I can't think of anybody in my life that is more of a servant than you are. And it was awesome to be able to hear you tell stories of how you've served and why you serve and all of that, and being able to bring our congregation into a better understanding of who Sol is, because you're a servant. And so for me, that was such a proud husband moment where it was like, see, this is why I love her. Like, and so everybody else just got to have a little glimpse of you. And so hope that makes you feel very uncomfortable.
Like it's weird. Tell me more.
Don't stop. But I am curious though, like how did Sol get to that point? You're in your 30s. I won't say exactly how old. But when did this start? How did this come about? I got in trouble because I called you old the other day, and you weren't happy with me. So I'm trying not to be a bad husband.
It's rude. It's rude.
We were shopping. We were at the mall, and you were about to buy an outfit, and I was just remember how old you are.
It was cute. It was cute. Okay, but he looked at me and he said, "Just remember that you're almost 40." That's why you should not go shopping with your husband.
You just made everybody listening. You just made everybody listening to this podcast hate me.
Bring your friends.
They're like, "Wow, Brent was doing so good, praising his wife, and then wow, just went downhill really fast." So back to subject matter. How did you become a servant? Like, how did this become such a core, integral part of who you are?
So I think that some people are born with it. No, but some people have an easier time serving than others, for sure, and I think that I fall in that category, that it is not as difficult for me to just be able to put myself second. On top of that, I grew up in a home where my mom was always wanting to serve people, and she was always volunteering everybody's services to do stuff, right? So the church
you got voluntold a lot?
Yes, like the church will need 50 bags of candy for kids, and my mom, instead of just saying, okay, we're gonna just buy the bags, she will be like, yeah, me and my family are gonna make like goodie bags, and she will go to the store and actually buy like cloth bags, and then she will go and buy felt so that we could make faces and glue them on them, and then you will have to sew bows around it, and like her bags,
so extra.
Like her bags were extra, but we were always volunteered to do stuff. So it was another way for her to say, we're gonna serve, we're gonna do stuff. Since I want to say 12, maybe 13, my parents would have live groups, and they were the ones actually teaching the lessons in the live groups, and we will have everything happening in the house. But houses in Mexico are very little, so all of the adults will be in the living room, and then they didn't know what to do with all of the million kids, so they literally will put all of the kids in a bedroom, which it's crazy to me now to think about it, but like we were all in a bedroom, and I was in charge of giving them Sunday school in that bedroom. So like the kids are sitting on a bed, kids are sitting on the floor. So like since I was 12, 13, I'm teaching kids, and I had to go and get trained because everybody has to have the same curriculum and everybody has to do the same crafts. And then so it was serving. Like I was always doing something. Yeah. And then I went to our internship, which our second value, like our first value was God first, because that has to be it, right? But our second value was others before self. And it was very, very much ingrained into us.
Yeah.
Like you are never the one serving yourself first. You know, you wait for everybody else to be done. And you are never the first one in line. Like, you're the last one. And you are always wanting to make sure that the other person has whatever they need first. And all of that just kind of made this person that I am today, to say, I value other people.
Yeah.
And I understand how me putting myself second makes other people feel better.
Yeah.
And I've seen that with many people, that they realize that because I am putting them first, they feel like they have value. And that is just beautiful to see, when people feel like they matter, that they are important, just because you were able to wait 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that all of that is what has made me serve. You know, like I don't mind, and it's funny because I tend to be loud. I'm always like, look at me.
You don't say.
Like, I'm a look at me type of person, and because of that, I have always been kind of pushed to the front. You know, like since I was little, I was always the one doing like the ceremonies at school, and I was the one, like, I have never been like afraid of the stage or microphones or anything like that. So I was always the one that was selected to be reading in front of politicians and in front of all of the school boards and all of that stuff. And I never cared. But at the same time, I don't mind not being seen at all.
Yeah.
You know, like, I could be in the back equally as happy as I can be on a stage.
Yeah.
So like it is, I don't know. It is, I think that I see it as a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I think you and we have very opposite personalities. So like, I would not just, so you don't care stage or backstage. I would prefer, heavily prefer backstage. You know, I don't like the spotlight. And it's funny because we went through the same internship. We went through the same training. And so a lot of what's ingrained in you has been ingrained in me. But I think where we differ is you do come with that, I don't know, that natural spiritual gift of serving. And so there's moments where I watch you and I'm just like, man, she makes it look so easy. Where like me, there's a lot of training behind it. It's a lot of, I've been coached on how to do this. I've been taught how to do this.
There's a lot of groaning as you get up.
Yes, it's like, here we go. Okay, I got to do this. There's a lot of just reminding myself, this is a priority. And it feels like, and maybe this isn't true, but it feels like for you, there's not really a whole lot of, I need to remind myself I need to do this. It's just a instinctual reaction, I would say.
I think that it is. I do think that, like I said, you know, I think that some people are just naturally inclined to serve. Like, there's a lot of people that they are just natural born servants. Like, truly, you know,
it's a spiritual gift.
It is a spiritual gift. And I think that there's other people that it takes a little bit longer to get there. And I do feel like I am in that. I am born with it a little bit. That doesn't mean that it's easy and that it is always like, I just always want to serve. All I want to do all the time and all day long is to serve, because that is also not true. Like, that is unrealistic. But I think that is sometimes how my brain works. You know, sometimes I'm thinking about people and I'm like, oh, you know what would be really good if they have this. Or I hear somebody saying something about something that they need, and I am immediately looking like, how can we make that happen? You know, so it is just part of how my brain even processes information. Even with my kids, like, there's times that the kids come home and they're just saying, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna need a book, and I'm immediately like, what book? Let's buy it right now. Like, I want to make sure that you have everything that you need. You know, it is just that extra thing. You know, the other day Bennett was saying that he needed to do laundry. He put his laundry in the washing machine, and I was just thinking, he's playing a game, he's going to forget about it, I'm just going to change it. And I was just finishing the stuff for them, not because they asked for it, but because I am thinking, I want to make sure that he's good. So it just comes out.
Yeah. Which I think is a beautiful thing. Do you have any encouragement for the people that are a little bit more like me, where they maybe they're like me, but they didn't go through the training? And so it's like the serving thing doesn't come easy. It doesn't come naturally.
I think that, as everything, the more that you do it, the easier it will get.
Yeah.
So the more that you are intentional in serving, that you serve even when you don't feel like serving, and that you are praying about, how can I serve this person better? or Lord, you know that I don't like serving. Like, I just don't want to. Give me the desire to serve.
Yeah.
And when the opportunity comes, you take it. I think that the more that you do that, the easier it will be in the future. You know, the more that we are just okay with not serving because this is just who I am and it's just hard for me, then it will continue to be hard for you. So I think that as everything, if you want to get better at something, you better practice.
Yeah. Yeah, I read a book years ago. I can't even remember who wrote it. It's called Do the Hard Thing. Mm-hmm. And for me, like that's the advice that I have for people is, I guess for me personally, there's some areas of serving that are easier than others. It's like if somebody needs help fixing something that's broken, like I can jump on that, like because the way my brain works, the way everything works, I want to fix problems. So like that's really easy. I've also been very poor and very cheap most of my life, and so when somebody has like a financial need, that's always a harder area for me to serve in. For some people, it's the gross stuff. Like when a kid throws up, like you're not the one. I got it. You're not the one to. I have no problem with that. So in our home, like when it comes to the gross stuff, that's when Sol finally does show some lack of wanting to serve. Is when it's something gross.
Well, because if one of the kids is throwing up, and you add me into the mix, then you're gonna have to clean up 2 throw-ups.
So
is that what you want?
That's so gross. But what I've found is the more I do the harder act of service, the easier it becomes to do any act of service. And so I think that, like you said, it's that consistency. It's just always doing it that really helps. And it is hard to do, even if you're born with this natural instinct to serve. It's hard because it's countercultural. And it's counter instinctual, I think. Like, I think there's something in a fallen man that it's broken, right? Like, you don't have to teach little kids how to be selfish, but you do have to teach them how to serve and how to put others first. And so, but this cultural side of it.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. But there's this cultural side of it too, where it's like everybody, especially nowadays, is trying to teach, self-care, self-promotion, take care of your needs first. And, there's great illustrations of that. Like when you're on an airplane and, the oxygen mask comes down, you got to serve yourself before you can serve somebody else. It's like, yes, in that emergency dire situation, but that doesn't mean, Karen at the office, like just forget her, So I don't know. There's this cultural struggle, I think, right now of learning to be like Jesus and to be selfless and to put others' needs above your own that, I don't know, we just don't want to do it.
And I think that it is also just life, because I've noticed for me personally, the moments that I that I lack serving is where I am so sucked up into life.
Yeah.
Like I am so into what I'm doing at the moment that nothing else even comes close, So like I am running and I have to do this, I have to do that. So everybody's needs, they don't even show up on my radar because I am so focused on my life. Like I have all of this done and I am stressed out and I am overwhelmed and I have to do. So I think that sometimes we just have to slow down. To just take a breath and be able to look around, because that's when you will start seeing needs. And when I'm tired, like I don't want to serve right now, and that is hard because that usually happens once I'm home. Like I have been going all day, and finally I'm exhausted. I get home and then my kids need something, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah, which means strangers get more service out of you than family.
And I was
at least that's the danger, right?
I was met with that a few years ago, where I realized like I had all of the patience and all of the grace outside of the house, but I came to the house and I was just like no, boys, like you can do that yourself, right? But I would have gotten up and done it for somebody else if they would have been at my house. So sometimes it's just life. And you have to learn how to, even in the midst of it all, being able to see the need, do something about it, and do it with a happy heart.
Yeah.
Because I could get up and give my kids a cup of water or warm something in the microwave for them or wherever it is that they were needing. grudging and being
Yep.
like, you could have done that yourself. At that point, just don't do it.
Yep. And I've been in that moment before and realized that I was causing my kids to feel sorry that they asked me to do something.
Exactly.
And it was like, man, that hurt me
Yes.
so deeply as a dad, because my attitude was, I can't believe you're making me do this right now. That then my son was like, I'm so sorry. I'll do it myself. I'm sorry. And I'm just like, dad fail.
Yeah. So, and that happens across the board. So I think that we need to slow down. We need to slow the pace, and we really need to put people first. Sometimes we put tasks first. And I understand we all have things that need to be done by a certain time. We all do. So yeah, tasks are important. The thing that is on your list is important.
Yeah.
But people are more important.
Yeah.
You know, Jesus didn't come to just check things of his to-do list.
Yeah.
He came for people. So if we are going to be like Jesus, we need to prioritize people. And the people have needs, and people need to be able to have somebody to talk to. Because sometimes it's not about us doing stuff. It's about just sitting down and listening.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that can be equally hard as actually getting up and doing.
Oh, I would much rather do something than just sit and talk. I'm not really a talker, which is weird that we're doing a podcast. But yeah, I would much rather like let me go accomplish. I don't know if that's a guy thing or what, but like let me go accomplish something for you. But to just be here, to just sit and listen to you complain or to you whine, there's something in me that's just like,
yeah. So it is very important for us to be able to understand that people are important. I don't remember who said that, but I heard it a few years ago. And they were talking about how sometimes in life actually not sometimes, but like always in life, we kind of classify people, you know, and like you kind of rank people and like, well, you are kind of like a 2 and you're more like a 7 and you are definitely an 8. You know, you might be a 5, and you start treating people in how you have ranked them, you know? So if whoever was an 8 or a 9, like they're going to be like, they're a 9.
Sure
so like there's a 9, like we have to make sure that they have everything they need. But the person that is a 2, you're like, you're a 2.
Yeah.
Like you can wait.
Yep.
You're a 2. And this person was talking, I don't even remember who that was, but he was saying like you have to put a 10 across the board and treat everybody as they are a 10. Yeah. And that always stuck with me because I want to make sure that every single person feel like they deserve the best of me.
Yeah. And
they deserve the best of my service, and they deserve the best of my attention, and they deserve the best of my time. Like it is not like, well, you deserve better than they do. You know, so I'm going to give you everything you need. You may have a minute. Yeah. You know, so
that's got to be a John Maxwell thing. I feel like it's a Maxwellism.
It could be. I don't remember.
I was going to say Craig Rochelle at first, but I think maybe Craig Rochelle took it from John Maxwell.
And I cannot even tell you where I've heard it. I just remember it, and it has always stuck with me.
So we must have both listened to it. But yeah, I think that there is something beautiful about that. Now, the issue, and this is one of the problems that I've faced, and maybe you can relate to this, as we've gone through different roles in ministry, it seems like the higher up in the hierarchy you get, the harder it is to serve. Not because you don't want to, but because everybody is trying.
Wanting a piece of you.
Yeah, no, well, not even that, but that's a valid point too. But no, because everybody is fighting for this, like, I want to honor them. And so in this, and I think the part of it is a cultural thing. I think there is like a Chicago church culture of high honor for people that, man, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this probably. I think some pastors need to take a step back and go back to serving. The whole role of a pastor is a shepherd. It's a servant leader. And I think because a lot of pastors have gotten into this place of they love the honor that's given to them, they no longer have a place to serve. And instead they try and qualify like what they do as a pastor as, well, I'm serving the people when I'm preaching, or I'm serving the people when... No, like, when's the last time you scrubbed the toilet? Like, when's the last time you picked up a piece of trash? When's the last time, like, you just helped serve? Like, when's the last time you were at a funeral, and instead of being the first one to go through the repast line for food afterwards, what if you were the one serving the food? And I think that there's just a problem in culture where as you get to the higher seat, it's like everybody wants to honor. Don't let that get to your head.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any pastors that listen to this podcast, but if there is anybody listening to this, just remember that you're a servant first. And that doesn't mean your sermon on Sunday.
Yeah.
It actually is more than that.
Yeah, and actually, like, it is very interesting to me because if you read the scripture and you put everything in the cultural
context.
Context. I was like lane. Like, see, like I struggle with words sometimes.
ESL. English is your second language. It's all right.
And the entire brain, like all of that makes it. It's not good.
No bueno.
No bueno para nada. But so you put it in cultural context. Nobody wanted to be a shepherd.
Yeah.
Because shepherds were kind of like the outcasts. Like, you're over there with the animals while everybody else is doing life, right? And like, they were not allowed into festivities because you have been touching grossness
that's what I was just
all
about
day.
to say. Like, especially in Jewish context, so much of the role of a shepherd broke, certain commandments. As far as cleanliness, and so they had to go through all this ritual cleansing process, even more than the average person, because they're touching dead animals, they're out in the fields, they're doing all the things that they have to do for their job, but it disqualified them from a lot of things, so they had to stay outside.
Yeah, like that's why it was such a huge moment when Jesus is born, and the shepherds are the first ones to hear about this good news, right? Like, it's like, you like the nobodies, like the ones that are over there with a flock, like that makes no sense. So when you see that, and then you see what happens now when you have the title of pastor, and now all of a sudden, like, you're the most important person, it clashes what it's supposed to be. Like, we are supposed to be the ones serving everybody else, that the ones that are leading the people, the ones that are making sure that everybody's well fed, and so you are there to serve your flock. Like, that's what a pastor did, like a shepherd did. Like, if this area doesn't have good grass for my sheep, I have to look and make sure that I am taking them to a different place. If this place is going to be dangerous, we have to make sure that they are going to be safe. Like, they were actually actively watching over the flock. Like, they were serving their animals. And I think that that's what we are supposed to be as pastors today. Like, we are supposed to be looking at our people and say, okay, I have to feed you good food that is 100% Bible based, right? Like,
Please and thank you.
It's organic. It's organic from the Bible. It is Bible based. I have to make sure that if I see danger that is coming because of what the world is doing, what culture is doing, I have to keep you protected from that. I have to warn you about it. Like, we are not just here to elevate ourselves, but to really care for the people that are around us. Now, I do have to say that I disagree with you a little bit.
Please.
Just a little bit.
Let's go.
Because I get very I don't have words today, but I feel really weird when people are trying to serve me. It's very uncomfortable. That's the word I was looking for. It's very uncomfortable. It's like, like, you don't have to do anything special for me, right? Yeah. But I've noticed that sometimes in doing that, it is not really humility. It's more arrogance, and it's more pride.
I can see that.
Because, like, I don't need you to do anything for me.
Yeah.
Like, I am. I know who I am. And, like, and instead of just being in true humility, I am blocking somebody that is trying to do something nice, and somebody that is trying to be a blessing, just because it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So there's times that I also have to put that down and say,
No, we don't disagree. I was hoping we were going to disagree, but no, I totally agree with that. I think that, like all things in life, there's a balance to be had. Right. And I think that there's times when somebody wanting to honor you, now remove titles, and what I think we should honor people.
Yes.
Right. So, but if
Respect.
somebody,
Yes.
if somebody wants to honor you, I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that there just has to be a balance, and especially when my attitude or my heart towards it becomes corrupted, I think that's when we have a real issue. But there are times, and I've had to learn this lesson too, because I'm kind of the same way. And I don't know if it was pride or arrogance. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know how to label it, but it's like it made me uncomfortable. Like people were like trying to serve me, and it's like, no, you don't need to do that. Like I can serve. And I had somebody actually tell me one time, like, well, when do I get to serve if you keep stopping me from serving?
Ooh.
And I was like, oh,
Ooh.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Cause like I was robbing somebody of their opportunity, of their moment, to serve. And so I've kind of learned this lesson of when somebody is really trying to serve from the right heart, the right motives. Now, because you've got that pastor title, there's some people that'll come to try and serve. And man, I hate to say it like this, but they're not really trying to serve. They're just trying to get close. And man, we can go on a whole rabbit trail on that one.
I think that it is the difference from receiving somebody's honor, somebody's blessing, or somebody's desire of serving, rather than asking for it,
demanding it, or expecting it.
Yes, I think that is the difference.
Yeah. So like if I walk into the place where they're serving food, and I just go sit down in my seat and I just wait for somebody to come bring me my food, I think that's not good. Now, if I'm standing in line waiting to make my own plate and somebody says, "Oh, come on, Pastor, go have a seat. Let me bring you a plate," I'll probably tell them no.
You will definitely tell them no.
I'll tell them no. I'll be like, no, it's fine. I can do this. If they insist, then I'll go sit down.
Yeah.
Because that's the lesson that I'm learning in like don't take away somebody's opportunity to serve, especially when they have the right heart behind it. So I guess ultimately it comes down to heart.
Yeah.
What's their heart in wanting to serve, and what's your heart in wanting to be served?
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think that it is the most important thing that we need to do when we serve?
Ooh, the most important thing when we serve? I have no idea. It's a really good question, though. I think when we're being the servant, when we're the one serving somebody, I think the most important thing you need to do is understand your motive, know your heart behind this. I think that it's okay to start in a place of I'm doing this because I'm supposed to. Mm-hmm. I think that's okay. That's an okay starting point. Now, if you're 20 years into this and that's still the only reason why you're serving, you need some maturity there. But if I'm ever in a place where I'm serving out of obligation or serving out of self-promotion or anything like that, I think I've disqualified myself from truly being a servant. If I'm just doing it, you read a passage that talked about, willingly and humbly, the willingness and the humility in doing it. And if I lose those two qualities, if I lose the willingness and if I lose the humility in it, and now all of a sudden I'm serving for the attaboy, I'm serving because like I think you made the joke of like, I'm not going to pick up the piece of trash until somebody walks by, then I'm going to pick up the trash so that person could see me picking up the trash. It's like, okay, like just stop it. That's just no.
Yeah. It's tricky. This whole serving thing is really tricky because we want to do it and we want to do it for the right reasons. But the line is so fine, that it sometimes just having the right feedback can be what motivates you to keep on going. Yeah. Or that can completely derail the heart that you have for serving. So we have to be very careful and very intentional in our prayer time to lay everything down at the feet of Jesus and say, Lord, I am doing this for you. Don't let me ever forget why I start serving in the first place. Because if our serving is not to give him glory and for him to be magnified in everything that we do, the Bible says that when we are doing good things, that even other people are going to glorify our Father in heaven. This is, they will see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So when we are serving and when we are doing what we're supposed to, when we're being kind and when we are just being useful, people will notice and people will even bring glory to God because what we're doing. So that is so important. But the moment that the glory stops going towards God and starts going to me, that is when the problem comes.
Yeah.
And it is a really fine line. So we have to always be bringing everything to the feet of Jesus and say, I don't want any of this. And it felt really good, but it's yours. Like, it's not for me.
And that fine line, what I learned a long time ago is it can be demoralizing. It can be depressing. It can be, heartbreaking when you keep serving, and nobody notices.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, but I'm not trying to do it for somebody to notice, but it would be nice if somebody said thank you once in a while. Right. Like I've been serving. And so I don't know how to correct that in my own life.
Yeah.
So instead what I've tried to do is not let somebody else experience that. So if I see somebody serving, I say something about it.
Yeah.
If nobody ever encourages me in my serving, I want to make sure that I'm encouraging someone else in serving, so that they don't feel the way I've felt at times when it's like, man, I've been busting my butt. I've been going above and beyond. I've been serving. So I've had that experience before where it's like, people don't even understand how much I've been sacrificing to serve, and nobody's noticing and nobody's saying anything about it. And I just feel like I'm being taken for granted and nobody appreciates what I'm doing. And that's a horrible feeling to have. And in those moments, I just got to go to Jesus and be like, I'm sorry that I feel this way, but I do feel this way. And I know I'm not really supposed to feel this way, but I don't know how to stop feeling this way. And so I just cry out to God and hope that the Holy Spirit fixes me. But I've come to the place where I don't want anybody else to feel that way, especially in my presence.
Yeah.
Like if I saw them doing something and I didn't say something, man, what if nobody said something?
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to be there. So I try and go above and beyond. Like yesterday after service, there was somebody, some kid probably had eaten an orange in the sanctuary and left like the orange peel all over the floor. And I was talking with somebody and I saw it out of the corner of my eye and I was like, I'm going to finish this conversation and then I'm going to pick it up. And literally in the middle of the conversation, he said, hang on a second. And he had seen it and he walked over in the middle of the conversation and picked it up. And so I praised him for it, because it was one of those things where it was like, thank you. Like that was awesome. That was a beautiful moment. And the funny thing is we had just had a conversation. We're in the middle of a conversation about like how he felt convicted by the message and how he needs to be looking for opportunities to serve. And I was like, man, do you recognize that what you did is what you just said you need to be doing? like you're living it out. And he's like, oh, I just saw, I hate when people leave food on the floor. I was like, yeah, everybody does, but it wasn't your job to do. And yet you did something about it. Even though we're in the middle of a conversation, you're like, I don't want somebody else to step on it. I don't want it, I was putting it off. You didn't. And so I want to make sure that I take notice when people serve, when somebody picks up a piece of trash, when somebody takes care of a kid, when somebody does something that nobody asked them to do and nobody required them to do.
Yeah.
I want to praise that in people. And I think if I could encourage more people to do the same, then maybe we could solve the problem of, man, nobody notices me and nobody cares what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, and I think that is important. That is very important, because definitely I have been there, especially, I think that if you're a mom, you know the feeling of they are just taking everything I do for granted. Yeah. And nobody sees all of the sacrifice, and nobody sees all of the hours that I put into this. They just expect things to be done. Like we feel it. And I don't know, maybe you as a dad feel the same thing. Like, I don't know. I just know.
Oh, we have had that conversation before.
Like, but as a mom, I have been there many times. But it is understanding that I am not serving just to hear that.
Yeah.
But hearing it is nice.
Hearing it does help.
But saying thank you goes a long way.
It does.
So I think that it is a balance between those things. It is a balance between wanting to be recognized because you have put the time and the effort into doing whatever it is that you're doing to serve. Yeah. But if you were not gonna get that recognition, then you will still be okay. Yeah. So it is a lot of work, and it takes a lot of prayer. It takes a lot of going to God and saying, give me the right heart for serving. Yeah. Give me the right heart to be able to do all of the things that I need to do for you. Yeah. That my main person that I am picturing in my head as I serve is you.
Yeah.
And if anybody else says anything about it, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
That is a plus. That is a like, oh, you noticed too? That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, but when God is ultimately the person that you want to bring glory to and you are doing everything for him, then everything else is just extra.
Yep.
And it is nice to have it, but if you don't,
You
were
can
not
still
you
stay
were
the
not
course.
looking for it.
Yeah. And that's been my, I guess, my encouragement to myself is ultimately, I'm not doing it for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're my wife, and I want to serve you, and I love you, but ultimately, you're not the one. Like if we trace it back to, you know, here I'm doing it for this motive, we trace it back to its root. Its root should always be, I'm doing this for Jesus. Yeah. Because for me, my greatest desire in life is to one day hear him say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." Yeah. And so I got to make sure that I'm serving, right? Because if not, then he's saying, well done, my good and faithful preacher." No, that's not what he says. Like, my preaching is not the thing that Jesus is proud of. It's when I live as a servant, when I put others before myself, when I do those things. And, you know, I've said on the podcast before, you know, I don't want to get to heaven and he's like, "Well,
you're
made
done."
It. No, I want him to say, "Well done," not just, "Well, you're done." And so there's this kind of this desire that's motivating me. But I love that the Bible even illustrates that. You know, Jesus says, you know, when you fed me, you gave me water when I was thirsty, you clothed me, and the people are like, "When did we do any of those things? Like, you haven't even been here. How did we do those things?" He's like, "Well, anytime you did it for the least of these, you were doing it for me." And so that's my, I don't know, my motivation. Yeah. Right. When I'm picking up trash, I'm not picking up trash because I need to. I'm not picking up trash because the church will be cleaner after I pick it up, or the street will be cleaner after I pick it up. No, I'm picking it up because of Jesus. Yeah. It's for him that I'm doing it. When I take food to a homeless guy, I'm not just taking food to a homeless guy. I'm taking food to Jesus. Like, I'm serving him. Yeah. In the way I serve others. Yeah. And that's if I don't get an attaboy on this side of heaven, I am still looking for the attaboy on the other side of heaven.
Yeah, and that is the one that we have for sure. You know. Yeah. That is the one that counts.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I like it. So, you know, you highlighted something in the message on Sunday. We talked about it in the car, actually, and we kind of broke it into 3 categories, right? It's you see something, and so you do something about it. Then there's the people that see something, and they don't do anything about it. And then you didn't talk about this in the message, but I brought up the kind of the third category, the people that don't see it. Yeah. So they don't do anything about it. Yeah. And so just the idea there is in serving others, you know, what we need to do is see a need and do something about it. Like, I love the fact that they're sitting at this table with dirty feet. They're already in the middle of supper. Like, it says as they were eating. Like, this is supposed to be something that happens when you walk in to the home.
And you're talking about
Jesus washing his disciples' feet. Yeah. So like, it's something that's supposed to happen when you walk into a home. There's either a servant or there's a basin, and you're supposed to wash your own feet. Like, that was very common too. Like, clean your own feet, man. That's nasty. And yet these are a bunch of fishermen. These are some rowdy boys, right? Like, I mean,
they were not bothered by it,
right? Like, Peter's cutting off people's ears. Like, these are not, like, I don't know, clean freaks, I guess, fishermen. You know, and so they're sitting around the table with nasty feet, and nobody cleaned up. Like, y'all nasty. And Jesus sees it. And so he does something about it. Everybody else could see it, but they didn't do anything about it. And so that's really the kind of the heart of your message is, you know, see the need and do something about it. How about for people, and I'm not going to talk about those people, I'm going to talk about me. For me, who sometimes has blinders, has, you know, is very nearsighted or something. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of times when I don't recognize needs. I don't see the opportunity to serve. What advice do you have for me? How do you help me actually see the needs and then do something about it?
Oh, you know, I think that you need to start praying for awareness, because there are needs all around us. And I think that maybe it is back to what I was saying in the beginning. You got to slow down and really take a look. Mm-hmm. Like, everywhere you go, like, really pay attention to the words that people are saying instead of just quickly trying to move on to like really hear what is happening. I know since you're saying that you were the example, like there have been moments where I feel like I am, now that we have 2 dogs, and the 2 dogs are a little crazy when they are together, there have been times that I feel like I am yelling at both of the dogs, and I feel like I'm pulling out my hair, and like, you didn't come down. I'm like, I would have expected you to at least be like, everything okay, but
I figure you're handling
but it didn't happen, right? So like, I think that sometimes
I heard the tone of your voice. I didn't want to walk into that,
like,
because then you're just turn to me and be like, "You're the reason why we have 2 dogs."
Exactly. You wanted 2 dogs. You deal with them.
Actually, you wanted 2 dogs.
You wanted 2 dogs.
No, you started this.
You wanted 2 dogs.
I will go on the record.
You know what? You know how many dogs I want?
0.
0.
It was your idea to get a second dog.
Anyways, so I think that sometimes it's just paying attention, and motivating yourself to pay attention and to do something.
Yeah.
Because if you are never intentional about it, you will not see it.
Yeah.
If you don't wake up and go into the workplace or go around your neighborhood or go anywhere that you're going with that intentionality of what can I do to serve somebody today, you will not see it. Because we are consumed by the things that we need to do, the things that are in our list, the things that have a deadline, the things that are just happening in our own lives. You go to the grocery store with an idea of I have to get this and I have to get this and I have to get that. So not seeing that somebody cannot reach the top shelf is not uncommon, because you are not looking for that. Yeah. But when you go into this places saying, okay, is there anything that I can do to help anybody here?
Yeah.
Then that will give you an awareness of what is happening around you. Yeah. When you're talking to somebody, is there a way that I will be able to help this person? And as you're hearing their tone of voice or the choice of words that they have as they are having this conversation, you might say, oh, I think that there's something I can do there. Yeah. So I think that it is having awareness and being intentional when you are showing up in different spaces. Yeah. If you are not intentional, you will never see it.
And I think that's, for me, as the guy that decided we're going to do a series called Like Jesus, that's my heart, is that every day we would wake up with intentionality. That we'd wake up every day and say, okay, today I'm going to look like Jesus. Well, what does looking like Jesus mean? Well, I'm going to look like Jesus because I'm going to pray like Jesus. I'm going to serve like Jesus today. I'm going to love like Jesus. I'm going to think like Jesus. I'm going to live like Jesus. And so, like, for me, that's why we set up this series the way we did. Week 1, looking like Jesus. The next 5 weeks are all different aspects of what it means to look like him. And if we will wake up every morning and just say, today, I'm going to serve like Jesus, then you will be more aware. You will be looking around a little bit more. And so I think that if we do take that intentional approach, even for somebody like me that can sometimes have blinders on, and the funny thing is, we call them blind spots, right? Because you're blind to them. Like you don't know that you don't know. Yeah. And that became very clear for me the more time I've spent around you, and even Jaden, our oldest son, has challenged me in that. I've told this story a few times, but I still remember we're downtown Chicago with your mom. We're walking around. We're trying to go from one place to grab lunch, and I'm trying to navigate through downtown, an area that we hadn't really spent a lot of time in. Finally find the restaurant.
And you were excited about your smash burger, or what was it?
No, it was Shake Shack. Shack. It was a Shake Shack, and we don't have a lot of Shake Shacks in the suburbs. So I was like, "Come on, man!
Well, drag mine. We're going to Shake Shack right now.
Come on, I need that those red what are they? Chili peppers or whatever they put on them. Whatever they are, it's delicious. It's amazing. Clearly, I'm a guy that likes a good burger. And so we rush into the restaurant, and all of a sudden, Jaden is crying. And I'm like, dude, don't mess with my Shake Shack burger. Like
not today.
Look, they
not today.
They got burgers. You like burgers. They got chicken strips. They got hot dogs. Like you'll find something you like. And he's just crying and crying and crying. And usually when a kid is crying in a restaurant, it's because he doesn't want to eat the food, right? And so that's where my mind just immediately went, is like, he doesn't want to eat here. And so I'm trying to get him to find something on the menu that he likes, and he's just crying and crying and can't even talk. He's crying so much. Finally, I don't know how long it took. It took like 10 minutes at least. Finally, he calms down enough to say, I just feel horrible because we're about to have lunch, but the homeless guy outside, he doesn't have anything to eat. And I was like, what homeless guy? Like literally, like it wasn't like I saw him and I chose to ignore him, or, I chose to do nothing about it. Like literally, I walked the same street Jaden walked. I was following the same path that he was following, and yet my brain never even recognized. It didn't register that there was a homeless guy sitting there. And that was such an eye-opening moment for me of like, my son sees the world in a better way than I do because he's aware of people's needs. He's aware of the pain that other people are in. And I don't know what it is about my wiring, but a lot of times I'm not aware. And so I've had to get very intentional. And the funny thing is I've been trying to be intentional even before that moment, and clearly it wasn't fully working. And so it really reminded me in that moment, like how much more so I need to really just stop.
And that was a beautiful testimony, because I remember after we finished eating, my mom gave him money, and he said, and we went back and we said, we're going to give him money so that he can eat. So my mom gives him Jaden money. I think that it was like $5 or something, because it was a long time ago. So food was cheaper back then. So Jaden gets the money. He goes and he gives it to the guy. We walk like maybe 2 streets, and Jaden found like a $20 bill on the floor.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
It was like God was just saying, hey,
good job, buddy.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
So it was just really beautiful. I will never forget that moment.
Yeah.
But I think that, I don't know, and maybe that's a question for you, but as somebody that sometimes cannot see the needs, like we're saying, and maybe you don't have the awareness all the time, would it be helpful for you to, with the people that you are close to, the people that maybe the people here at work, or maybe at home, or in the different spaces that you are, to be able to say, hey, I would love to serve you. If you ever need anything from me, tell me. Because that way at least people know, if you need me, I'm here, but I might not see it.
Yeah.
But if you tell me, I'm game to help. Will that be something that is helpful, or what do you think?
So what I've started doing with staff, and I started doing this, like 5 years ago maybe. So when we do one-on-ones with any of the staff, one of the questions that I always ask is, how can I help? And that is me trying to constantly be in a place of, I'm here to serve you. And that got more challenging even as we kind of rose in the ranks, so to speak, as a church. Now as the lead pastors, it's a really awkward for people to be like, yeah, I need the lead pastor to help me stuff envelopes. But like there's literally been times when like I keep asking that question, and people will be like, oh, well, nothing. I'm really busy. I gotta put together this packet. I'm like, oh, I can help. Yeah, like I've got important things that I need to do, but I can take 30 minutes and I can help you put together a packet. There have been times when I'll have to become more intentional of walking around the office, walking around different places, going back into the children's wing and seeing what they're up to. Because I've walked back there sometimes and it's like, it's chaos. And it's like, we've got to stuff all of these Easter eggs. And it's like, all right, I got 10 minutes before my next meeting. Let me take 10 minutes to help stuff some eggs. And so forcing myself to do things like that. I use the acronym C, stop, examine, engage, a lot when it comes to this kind of conversation where I do have to stop, because I'm a very, like, there's purpose, there's direction, there's a task. I'm very task driven, right? So people are secondary by nature. And so I have to force myself to flip that. And people are priority by nature. And so we complement each other well in that. And I tell people, if it wasn't for Sol in my life, y'all would be in trouble. But so I have to really be intentional about stopping what I'm doing, not just always rushing from one place to the next. There's a great book by Bill Hybels about outreach, about evangelism, really, but you can take it to go into serving as well, titled "A Walk Across the Room," and I realized, a lot of times I wasn't walking across the room. I was sprinting across the room. I was like, I got to get back there quick, and I would just run past people's needs. And so that's why I wasn't being aware. Kind of the restaurant example, the Shake Shack. I was focused on Shake Shack. I was focused on, I've got to get my family from point A to point B. I want to do it quickly because I'm hungry and I don't want to pay extra for parking. And the longer we're out here, the more I'm paying for parking. And so I'm a man on a mission. We've got to accomplish this thing. And so I got to teach myself more and more how to stop, to really examine, to see what's going on around me. Pay attention to clues. Mm-hmm. Like when you ask somebody how they're doing and they say, I'm okay. It's like, oh, well, that and okay, that's a bad combination. Like that doesn't mean they're okay, right? Yeah. But it's gotten to the point where if I ask somebody how they're doing and they say, I'm good, my immediate response is, why are you only good? Why not great? And it forces them to go, oh, no, I'm doing great. Like, because sometimes it's just the word default. Just the word that pops out. Sometimes though, I say, why only good? Why not great? And they say, well, my kid just had this issue at home. But me just kind of forcing that to become almost a natural response to the question, how are you doing? A lot of times the how are you doing is followed with nothing because we don't really care how people are doing. But I've kind of trained myself to have a follow-up question to how are you doing, either based on what they say or what they don't say. Yeah. And so I think, I don't know, the more that we do that, the more that we're intentional, I think the better we get at seeing personally, as somebody that has poor vision.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
All right. So last thing I wanted to talk about is I want to encourage people, and I want to get your take on this, but I want to encourage people to use what they have when they serve.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of people are kind of trying to figure out how to serve. And I think sometimes we feel like we have to serve in a way that we're not really equipped to serve. Like,
you are trying to solve everybody's problems,
right?
It's
right.
not what we're supposed to do.
Or it's like, somebody that has low income, is barely making ends meet. If their default to serving others is to always buy them groceries, like that's not an area that you can serve in. That's not a way that you can serve in your current status. But that doesn't mean you don't serve, right? And so we use what we have to serve. And so like there's been seasons in our life, and thank God we're in one right now where we're financially more secure than we've been in other times in our lives. So we are able, there have been more times when we've financially served somebody in this season than any other season. Mm-hmm. But we've always served. We've opened up our home actually twice for somebody else to live. And it's funny that you chose the time when we let one person live in our house instead of the time we let 2 people and 2 dogs live in our house for a year. Yes. But we use what we have. And so what we have could be a lot of different things. It could be the finances that you have, could be the property that you have, right? Like it could be the fact that you've got a working car. I know a guy in the church that he gives a ride to a young man that has to take the bus everywhere he goes. And so he's like, hey, you got a job interview? I'll drive you. That way you won't have to worry about being late, right? So like he's got a car and he's got time. So he's using that to serve this young man. And I think that we just need to take what we have in order to serve others. And that could also be, and I'm kind of monopolizing this part of the conversation, but I do want to get your input. We can also use the skill sets that we have. Yeah. Like I love, there's a guy on the team, Brett, actually our director's husband. He's brilliant with tech stuff. And so when he serves people, it's usually in that realm. Like, can Brett pick up trash? Absolutely. Can he, pick up a kid that's crying? Yeah, he totally can. But the best way Brett can serve is by using his skill set, because he can serve people in a way that others can't. Right. I've got a friend that's amazing with cars. He's just got a brilliant mind for mechanics. And so the way he serves is somebody's car breaks down and he's on it. Like if I'm driving down the road and somebody's broke down on the side, most likely I'm not going to stop because I'm going to be useless in that situation. Now, if it looks like they could really use a lift somewhere, absolutely I'll help out. But if their engine is smoking and they've got the hood popped, like I ain't stopping because I'm going to be completely useless in that situation. But my friend, like he sees that and he's like, oh, it's my time to shine. right? And so what skill sets do you have? What knowledge do you have? What understanding do you have? How can you use not just your physical body but your mind in order to serve others?
Yeah, no, I have experienced that as well. I think that a few years ago more than I do now, but there were a few times when we went to the store and we will have people that didn't speak English trying to
Yep.
explain things and trying to figure out pricing and trying to figure out how to do stuff. And they were not able to communicate with the other person.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of times that I literally felt like I was just meddling, but I was like, okay, well, no, they are saying that if you can do this and how much would it be if this and all of that stuff, and I will help because
you translate.
because I was able to translate that,
Yeah.
you know? So I was able to speak both languages. So nobody asked me to do it.
Yeah.
I just realized they are not understanding each other.
Yeah. Well, and your friend is part of a ministry in Vegas, Leading and Loving It, and you were helping translate like her sermons and her messages and
Yeah.
things. Like you were helping translate that. There was like interviews and articles for magazines and things that you were helping translate. There was stuff that they were producing as a church that like you became one of their translators, even though you're in Illinois, they're in Vegas.
Yeah.
You're not getting paid to do any of it, but you have an ability. And they had a need, and so you served.
Yeah, and like it's just something that it comes, and like you said, it's not money related.
Right.
I think that's something that could be very dangerous with everything, not just with serving, but with everything in life is comparison.
Yeah.
When you are comparing the way that you can serve to the way that somebody else can serve,
Yeah.
that can be very demoralizing. That can be very depressing, because if somebody else can give you $3,000 so that you don't lose a home, but I only have 20.
Yeah.
You know, you might feel like, well, I can serve.
Yeah.
You know, and then you feel like what you have is not valuable, which that is not the case. We all have different things that we can offer.
Yep.
And we need to be focused on our own journey, and we need to be focused in the things that God has placed in our hands, and ask Him for wisdom in how we can serve within our means.
Yep.
Because serving doesn't mean that then you are the one that has absolutely nothing, because in your serving you gave everything.
Yep.
You know? So you need to be able to just discern and ask God, like, give me the wisdom, because maybe for you today is about giving some of your time.
Yep.
Maybe for you it is about just sitting down and talking to somebody that really needed somebody to listen to them.
Yeah.
You know, or start creating healthy relationships and healthy spaces for people that just need to be able to get all of this stuff out of their chest, but they don't have anybody that they can talk to.
Yeah.
You know, like I know some people that they are saying, I don't have meaningful relationships. So how can you be a friend to those people? Yeah. Like, it is, when we're talking about giving people what they have, what they are lacking, what they are without, it is not just money. Because I think that we all could use some money, right? Like, I know I can use more money, but that is not it. Like, if we reduce our serving to money, we are missing it.
Yeah.
Because there are so many other needs that people around us have, and there's so much that we all can do. We just have to be aware of those needs. And I know that money needs, physical needs, are a little bit louder. They are a little more evident.
Yeah.
You will be able to see those very quickly, more than somebody that is struggling with depression or anxiety, or somebody that is having a really bad relationship at home, or somebody that just needs friendship, that they just feel isolated and that they feel rejected.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. That is tougher to be able to identify. But those people need as much help and as much somebody that will be able to serve them than the person that didn't have a vehicle, or the person that, like, so you just need to be able to stay the course and see what you have and ask God, okay, within my means and within everything that I have, how can I serve? And and some people might say, I work from home, so I cannot serve anybody at the workplace or stuff. But you can serve your family. How are you serving your family? Because just because you're at home, that doesn't mean that you don't have maybe a spouse or kids or mom and dad or nephews
or neighbors. What
or
about your neighbors?
aunties and or your neighbors. Like, what can you do? What can you do to serve?
Yeah.
You know, like if one of our neighbors were to need something, will they even think about asking us?
Yeah.
Or they're like, oh, let me see what I can do. Like, I know that there's one of our neighbors that I know that if I need something, I can go to them.
Yeah.
Do they feel the same way about me?
Yeah.
You know?
It's huge.
It is huge. So don't compare the ability that you have to serve with somebody's ability to serve. Because you are two different people. You have two different journeys. You have two different means, two different skill sets.
Yep.
So focus on the things that you have and do the most with that.
Yep. Because the reality is everybody does have the ability, the capacity to serve in some way.
Yes.
How you serve and how somebody else serves may not look the same, but there's something that you can be doing.
And that doesn't mean that somebody else is serving in more beneficial ways, or that their serving is better than yours because they can do more flashy things. That is not the case. All service, I think, that is equal and is equally important.
Absolutely. All right, I love it. So we're gonna serve like Jesus. That means with humility. That means seeing the need and actually doing something about it. And so we're going to get more intentional about waking up every day and saying, I'm going to serve like Jesus today. I'm going to be more aware of the opportunities to serve, the people that need me to serve, and I'm going to use what God's given me to serve others. That may be my time, that may be my treasure, that may be my talents, whatever it is, but I'm going to use what I have to serve others.
Yeah, I love it.
Nice. Good stuff. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out,
yes,
wifey. We're going to be back next episode. We're going to be talking about thinking like Jesus. That's going to be that's going to be it's like we went from super practical, like here's the things to do, to how do we talk about what went inside Jesus's brain while he was alive. But it's going to be an interesting conversation. I think
that's
it's going to be good. So we'll see you back next time on Between Sermons.